Save the Semantics, episode 237. It is July 8th, 2025. My name is Myro. This is the podcast where I ramble on for a bit about some shit. Recording this on a Tuesday afternoon slash evening. It's been a couple of weeks. Just checking the logs. It's been a couple of weeks since I last recorded and uploaded. So it's been a while. A lot of things have happened, especially in the NBA world, that I think I'll try my best to kind of sift through because there's been so many trades, and obviously the draft happened too, which I don't know. I don't know if there's really anything super notable there for like the Warriors side of things. Maybe some surprises here and there for some other teams, but I do want to talk about those. We're like right about going into summer league, which I think is pretty exciting because there's actual basketball happening. The Warriors have a game happening today too, so I might check that out. I did watch like a part of a game 2 days ago. So I mean, yeah, there's still basketball going, which is kind of wild to say. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not official. It's summer league, right? But it's still fun. It's still fun to think about, to theorize whether any of these players playing currently will turn out to be anything outside of the draft outside of the draft class rookies. Maybe like an undrafted player. Not sure. I'm not totally sure. But we will see. But yeah, a lot to catch up on, and I just want to kind of give my thoughts on what has occurred. I have it's been kind of it's been a busy month plus or so. I just got back from my trip, visiting friends, and now we're back home, kind of just sort of reorienting myself and adjusting back to my normal schedule and everything. Maybe trying to reintroduce some stuff. I'm really trying to I'm really trying to I'm gonna try to like push myself like a little bit too, in terms of just like health stuff and working out and that kind of thing. I think it feels good. It feels like a good progression, and especially during this time of the year, it's like I want to take advantage of timing and stuff, and actually, I don't know, maybe get a bit more fit. So yeah, I'm gonna try to do that. I'm gonna really try to take advantage of that. Other things, I continue to sort of I'm sort of like in this phase of like what's like the next thing that I want to play and that kind of thing on whether it's like my Switch or whatever. The Steam summer sale is like going on right now, and I have heavily considered like looking into games that are on sale and trying some of those things out. Like I'm still playing through Golf Story. I think I might be close to wrapping that one up. So that's just been a fun game to go through. The next game that I am going to play, I think, and Xenoblade X is still kind of there, but I think I want to I've been enjoying playing shorter games with like shorter stints for like the time being. Like I've been just kind of craving that style of game more recently, and not so much more of like the big, RPG kind of game, even though I would like to get into those sometime later. I think those kinds of more just like really simple, not simple necessarily, but more just like shorter games, I think have sort of kind of appealed to me a little bit more recently. And just trying out a bunch of different kinds of experiences, you know what I mean? Trying out different kinds of games, I think has been like something that I've talked about, and I would like to try to do that. There's been some games on my list I've seen from like creators in the past that they've talked about like all of these like different kinds of indie games. I'm like, man, I've been really wanting to play that, and I can play that. I just haven't really utilized like Steam in that way. I don't have like a gaming PC or anything like that, and that has maybe kind of like turned me off from it a little bit. But I realized that I can actually play those games that don't require as much processing and that graphical capability with like indie games. You know what I mean? So instead of like being like, oh, I just whatever, I'm sort of like console. I've been really not stuck, but I've been really kind of someone who's been like a single console person. Like it's like I'm missing out on a lot of the breadth of games that are available out there, that I can really try at such a cheap price too. Some real bargain of games, and yeah, I really want to kind of delve into those. I think there's a lot that's available on Steam that I haven't really tried out yet, and I'm excited to kind of get into those. But the next game I do want to play, which I do have on my Switch, is The Remains of Edith Finch, which I have heard so many good things about. It is a narrative driven game. There's not really a ton of action. It's mostly consistent of you just kind of walking through environments and sort of piecing together this sort of mystery about what happened to this kind of family. And I think that's just something that's just right up my alley. It's a shorter game, kind of similar to something like Journey, which I loved. And I'm kind of craving that a little bit. I'm craving a shorter game that doesn't require so much of my time, and something that I can kind of just go through and complete and have like a singular experience with. And that seems like it's like right up my alley, and I'm excited to get into that once I finish Golf Story. So that's been kind of on my docket, if you want to call it that, in terms of like my wants. I'm really like eager to try and seeking out like other just indie games as well, things that I've sort of missed out on the past, because there's a lot out there. There's a lot of other creative endeavors out there that I would like to kind of experience and try out. So that's kind of what I've been thinking about in terms of within the gaming space. Let's talk basketball. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of trades, so much that I don't even know if I'm going to be able to touch on everyone, not every single one, but every significant one. I mean, first off, Warriors have not conducted any trades so far. The Kuminga situation is still kind of up in the air. I'm assuming, and it feels like there's gonna be some type of sign and trade deal that happens later, hopefully before like training camp and before the preseason, because that would be kind of awkward. Like it's over. The relationship between the Warriors and Kuminga is what it is. You know what I mean? It didn't work out. There was hopes that he was going to be able to kind of fit in and slot in and be the next kind of the passing of the torch sort of player, but he's just not that. He's not that. Steph is still here. He's not, he's going to be here for like as long as he's able to play, and I just don't foresee a future in which Kuminga is able to kind of fit into that system, right? He works better as someone who can kind of create shots on his own. He's not in a system where like movement is heavily encouraged and cutting and all of those kinds of things, where this kind of like system integrated around, sort of like a, just very based off of kind of Steph's movement and his gravity. It just hasn't worked out. And so it would be better for him to be in a different position. I have no like, I'm not someone who has any like bad feelings about that. It's just like something that just didn't really hasn't worked out. So hopefully something does happen with that. There's been some discussion that I've seen about, which is kind of interesting, about reacquiring DeAnthony Melton after we sort of traded him in the Dennis Schroeder trade. And I think it would be interesting to try to take, sort of try to get him sort of reintegrated into this team, maybe on a lesser role because of the injury risk that he has. But I mean, like, I think Warriors fans, including myself, have been so up. The first, like, what was it, like 6 games that he played was like, oh man, this is like the perfect pairing with him and Steph. And then he got injured, and then things kind of derailed from there. So I think a lot of us were sort of riding off of that high. I don't think he's going to be that guy, unfortunately, because he's went out with a season-ending injury, and I'm sure that will sort of continue to linger, and he has had other health issues in the past. So I think there is going to be some risk management if he is brought back to this team, but I wouldn't mind taking him back on if he is like to a lesser role. You know what I mean? It would be awesome if he was able to stay healthy, but that's just sort of that's just the issue. You know what I mean? It's tough, and considering the age of this team, I don't know how many more players we can afford to have who are also, he's not an older player, but he has the, just I just think the injury history is an issue. So I would be cool with taking him back as long as he's not like a focal point of their schemes, you know what I mean? As long as he's sort of like like a secondary creator or, defensive type of player who plays stints. I think that'd be cool to have. Yeah, that's really kind of it for the Warriors. Like they did draft some people. I think it was Will Richards and then Alex Tuhi. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't really watched. Apparently Will Richards has had like a nice moment in the last game, but I have not really paid that much attention to that, to be honest. So, but I will kind of look into it. I just don't know how much of a contribution those guys are going to provide, but considering that Steve Kerr has gone deep into the bench last season and the year before, it's possible that they're going to get some playing time as long as they can be a decent contributor. If they can kind of replace some of the production that players like Gary Payton and then Kuminga have, or Kuminga was sort of out of the rotation by the end of the season, but if those players that we've picked up in the draft are able to kind of replace some of the production from players that are no longer and unlikely, and then also Kevon Looney as well. I think that would be interesting. I don't know I don't think I've talked about Looney leaving. Crazy. I don't know what the Pelicans are doing. I have no idea what they're doing. It feels like they're just like mashing a bunch of shit together and seeing what sticks. I do want to give a lot of praise and love for Kevon Looney. I think coming out of college and when he was initially drafted by the Warriors like 10 years ago, which is crazy to say, there wasn't like this, like, there wasn't really any expectation for him to be, I don't know, I think there wasn't really any expectation for him, right? Earlier in like high school, I believe he had kind of the athleticism and the style of play similar to a KD, right? Like a 6'9", 6'10", power forward, small forward kind of player. But I believe he sustained a type of injury in college, which resulted him in having to try to shift his styles to become a much more of a traditional center player. And he has been just like the consummate professional for this team. Like, he has been the anchor outside of like Draymond for this team over the course of the KD era. 2022, he had some awesome moments during that championship run. And yeah, I think it's been kind of wild to see all of these pieces kind of go to different places, really. I mean, now it's just the remnants of the original, championship teams from 2014, 2015. It's really just Draymond and Steph now, which is kind of wild to see. I I think that it's just kind of given a lot to, it's a lot to kind of look at all of these like different eras. I mean, eras within eras, right? Obviously, like this Steph era has kind of spanned over the course of, you know, 15 plus years at this point. And I think within those pockets, I have players that I can really just appreciate, going from Monte and, kind of like the Corey Maggettis of that era before, the Monte was traded, and then bringing in David Lee and then Bogut and all of those kinds of things. I think Looney is kind of an integral piece to sort of that second kind of half of that era in a way, right? He was drafted, I believe, in 2015, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because it has been 10-ish years, 2014 or 2015. So he was kind of right at during the championship era. I think his role started to kind of increase over the course of, I think during like the KD era, he had some moments here and there. But he really started to find his footing going into that 2022 season, 2022 season, which he had a significant role in being that presence in the paint, despite being undersized. Like, he was kind of, he was like the perfect player for Steve Kerr to play, right? I think there's so much criticism that I feel, including myself, that I've levied toward Kerr's and the Warriors' kind of tendencies to play this small ball lineup, right? I mean, that kind of happened with like the KD era, but and Draymond, of course, kind of being at the the small ball five position. But I think Looney was sort of the perfect complementary piece to that if needed. You know what I mean? He was excellent on defense. He just had this ability. He was just such a good rebounder. Like, I don't even know how to put it, but he just has like the skill to get rebounds, which I think is incredibly underrated. He had that like 20 rebound game, I think, in the Memphis series, or maybe it was Dallas. I don't remember. In the 2022 run, and I think he's just like a perfect. He was just like a perfect, complementary piece off the bench for the Warriors if they needed him to. He did everything that they needed him to do in terms of like, fitting alongside Steph and just providing that, just kind of like a pick and roll sort of piece, and then just playing just really, on a string defense on, with the rest of the team. Like, he just was such a good role player. And I think looking back, it's not like, I don't know if, nobody's going to be like, he was like, well, I mean, some people might say that he's like your favorite player, but I think he represents like this player that you don't really talk about in a lot of instances, but for us fans, there's really something special about someone like him, someone who is just such, who is just such a good piece to this puzzle for such a long time. And yeah, I'm going to be sad to see him go. Like, of course, he has declined over the course of the last couple of seasons, but I think that kind of, considering his own, injury history, even if he has been kind of a bit of an iron horse in a lot of ways, I think that, it just sort of, he's still younger, but yeah, it's hard to go up against what has happened before with his, past injuries and that kind of thing. So, and the style that he plays with. So I think, yeah, I think sort of a decline is just kind of part of the process. And yeah, I mean, I hope he does well in New Orleans. I don't know. I'll get to them in a little bit. I don't know what they're doing, but I'm happy. I think it's been a great run with him, and yeah, I hope he does well in whatever the remainder of his career is going to look like. I don't know how much longer he's going to be able to like perform at a significant level. I don't exactly know what his role on the Pelicans is going to be. Like, I think it's going to be interesting if he's going to provide as like a veteran presence to someone like a Derek Queen, but their play styles are so different. I just don't know what exactly that's going to look like. But I'm happy that he's getting paid elsewhere. You know what I mean? So yeah, good stuff there. Let's talk about the Pelicans. I just don't really. I think other people have articulated this better, especially like on draft night, and I think other analysts have put into perspective how poor of a decision making they've done since draft night and with like the trades that they've done. So like on draft night, they traded up to get Derek Queen, but they also traded like an unprotected 2026 first round pick of theirs, which is incredibly risky because if they turn out to be a bad team, which just considering their roster, it's like I don't really think that they're going to be like a great team, and also how just how unreliable Zion is with his presence on the court. It's just like a mishmash of a bunch of players. Like, I like Trey Murphy, I like Herb Jones, and I like Jordan Poole, but I don't, what is that going to look like? You know what I mean? Like, it's really unfortunate because they were like a fun team for a few years with that kind of like Zion, Brandon Ingram, Jonas Valanciunas, CJ McCollum, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy. That was like a good team, but it was really just kind of centered around the fact that Zion could not stay on the floor. And I mean, that kind of case still prevails in this situation as well. So I don't know. It's just such a weird, I don't know what their future is going to entail. Like, as long as if you have Zion, you have something to look forward to, but it's just been such a question mark that I don't really think that it feels pretty bleak with the Pelicans. It really does. I mean, their injury luck last year was just so bad. Like, I just felt so like their entire like starting lineup got injured, and it was just such I felt so bad for New Orleans fans. Like, it was just so much suffering. You know what I mean? And yeah, I don't know what I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know what they're going to look like next year. I feel like they're going to be like maybe at best a 500 team, but this is also in the West that we're talking about. I just don't think they're going to be a good team. And that's not a good sign because they traded away their pick. So if they're bad, they're not going to get their pick. That's going to convey to who they trade to? Was it Washington? No, it was Derek Queen and some like first round picks to, I don't remember, was it Washington that has their first pick? I think it might be, if I'm not mistaken. No, it was Atlanta. Atlanta has their pick now. So, and Atlanta, which I want to talk about too. I like kind of what they did, but I just, it's just such a weird and bad position. Yeah, I mean, they traded like CJ McCollum for Jordan Poole and some other stuff. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what the Pelicans are doing. And I feel bad for their fans. So that's kind of the extent of what my thoughts are on New Orleans. The Hawks, since I mentioned them. Listen, I was really hopeful. I have liked the Hawks for like the last couple of years. Because I like Trae Young. I like Trae Young, man. He's fun to watch. I know he has his limitations. I know he can be a bit of a chucker. I know that he can be a free throw merchant, whatever. But when he's fun, he's really fun. And getting Kristaps Porzingis, getting Nikhil Alexander-Walker, and some other players. I think they also got Tyus Jones too, right? Isn't he on the? No. Where did Tyus Jones go? Did he go to the Hawks? No, he went to the Magic. They got some other players, but the collection of players that they got, and also that trade with New Orleans where they got their first round pick, it seems like they're headed in like a really good direction, at least for going into this season. And I'm happy to see that because I've liked the Hawks for a little while now. I think they've been a fun team. They've been kind of, middling in the play-in for a long time now, for the last like 3-4 seasons. But it feels like, considering the state of the East and everything, that they can put themselves in a position to be one of the better teams in the East. So I like what they've done. I'm excited to see kind of what that looks like for them. But it feels like there's like a pretty bright it feels like a nice future for them. And plus they have, you got Jalen Johnson coming back. It's Zachary Rissache in year 2. Like I like, and Dyson Daniels. They also got his brother too. I think his name is Dash Daniels. So I like that. I like all of that. So they've, similar to last year, they're a team that I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what they look like in the 2025-26 season. Orlando, I think I might have mentioned the Desmond Bane trade, or I don't remember. I don't know. It's been a couple of weeks. But that's like a really good trade for them, getting like an actual person who can shoot the ball for Orlando. Like that kind of like addresses some of their issues. As I mentioned, they got Tyus Jones, who could be a great backup point guard, behind like a Jalen Suggs or Bane or whatever. So and they also just signed Paolo Banchero to a rookie max contract, so that's good news as well, securing him. He's their franchise player and everything. So it looks like it's looking good for Orlando, making some really nice moves there to position themselves to be a pretty good team in the East. So good stuff there. Other notable things, the KD trade, I think I talked about that, going to Houston. Houston's looking pretty dangerous. Like they got Dorian Finney-Smith. They got Clint Capella as like a third backup, like a third string backup. They got, who else did they get? They traded away Cam Whitmore, but honestly, he wasn't really playing for them all that much, so it doesn't really matter too much. They look pretty tough. It's just like a bunch of big dudes, except for like Van Vliet. Like everybody else is like 6'6" and 6'7" or over. So that's gonna be just like a massive team, and that worries me a little bit. We had some problems with them in the first round. Now they got KD, so yeah, we'll see how that goes. I have my skepticisms a little bit because I do think that there are still some limitations for their offensive ability, but maybe there's like this Ahmed Thompson leap that comes about next year. And he's incredible and he's been really good. So I think that, yeah, it's going to be tough, man. I think they'll be a good team. I just don't know I just don't know what I don't know what their ceiling is going to look like, right? Are they going to be able to sustain 4 rounds of the playoffs, or how do they match up against the Thunder? Yeah, those are all questions. Other teams, what have other teams done? Drew Holiday traded to the Trailblazers, and then for like Anthony Simons. Okay, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't really care about too much about that. Although I think this sort of helps Portland in, really identifying and really, bringing about like a defensive identity to that team. So that could be something there. They drafted the Hansen Yang, the Chinese center, Jokic 2. I don't know how that's going to go about, but I don't know. Maybe who knows? Maybe that could be interesting. If he turns out to be awesome, that would be cool to see. Other stuff. There's been so much crap. Norman Powell to the Heat, was it? I don't know. I don't remember. No, I think it was it Norman Powell to the Heat? I think it was like John Collins to the Heat and then Norman Powell to the Heat. I don't remember. I need to look up those trades. I just didn't care enough to look into them. I don't care what the Clippers do. I don't care what the Heat do. I really don't care. So it's just kind of like, that's whatever. And then I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head the big ones. What am I missing? Miles Turner to the Bucks. Yeah, that's a huge one. And then buying out Dame Lillard, crazy. That's a crazy move. But I mean, at least that kind of gives the Bucks like, additional year for Giannis to like stay, incentivize him to stay and all that. I do like that pairing. I do like Miles Turner next to Giannis. It's just a really unfortunate situation that the Dame Giannis pairing didn't really work out. So it is what it is, but yeah, crazy situation. I did see some speculation about like whether the Warriors would want to get Lillard and try to get him like next year when he comes back. Might be interesting, Oakland kid, like that would be pretty dope. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. That would just make us even older. Just continue to just build the oldest team in NBA history. Other stuff. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I can't. I mean, if I look it up, I'll probably find it, but I don't really want to do that right now. Yeah, I think those are kind of the big ones. I probably missed a lot. I missed a lot of the smaller trades. But those are the ones that come to mind. I mean, a lot of these have happened like more than a week ago, so they've just completely escaped me. Some other trades have been happening throughout like today and yesterday and stuff. But it's not really super, nothing huge. But yeah, it's been busy. It's been an active off season. And yeah, that kind of gets, it's like, the NBA like season is actually not that far. Like we got summer league, we got other stuff happening, like, and then we got like preseason in early October-ish. So it's really not that bad. Yeah, we got summer league going on pretty soon. So it's like three months is not that bad. You know what I mean? Like I can do other stuff too. You know what I mean? But I'm happy that there has been some kind of basketball content things going on, right? I've said that I've sort of taken a break from basketball and that kind of thing, which I am. There's not really any actual games going on, but there's been news here and there, and I think it's worth talking about. I'm just not as engaged as I would be if the season was just around the corner. So yeah, that's kind of my summary, my really, really broken summary of what has happened during this NBA offseason. I'm still waiting on the Warriors. Still waiting on them to do something. Maybe just the offer is just not out there. Maybe there's just nothing out there that we can really do. I hope that they do. I don't know. Get a center. Get a center, please. That's been my plea for who knows how long. It still remains. Please get another center if you can. I know it's easier said than done, but let's get that going. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode. Just a bit of a shorter one. Just kind of wanted to do a little catch up. If anything else exciting happens, I'll obviously talk about it. Maybe tomorrow or something. We'll see. But yeah, I just wanted to do a quick catch up on some stuff, and I will. I'll try to update if anything else happens. That's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for listening as always. This has been Save the Semantics. Signing off.